Hello and welcome back to the Tenaciously Resolute podcast. I'm your host, Carice Nelson, and this evening I have with me the amazing, the gorgeous Ms Bre Romeo. Hi Bre, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Carice, and thank you for having me here this evening.
No problem. So I have been seeing a lot that is coming out from your digital creation corner of the internet. I've been seeing all types of wonderful things. I'm seeing fragrances. I am seeing content creation in all aspects. I'm seeing traveling. And I know that you have a busy schedule outside of that. So for those that do not know you, tell me a little bit of who is Ms Bre Romeo.
Okay, so I wear a number of hats, even though I'm trying to relinquish some of them, but I can't seem to do that. So for me, I have always wanted to get something done, so I would always want to be involved. I've always been a curious person by nature. So I am a content creator. I'm also a budding entrepreneur, even though I should say I'm a full-fledged entrepreneur in training.
At this point,
I am a language aficionado. I'm actually also a Spanish teacher, and I also know French.
Excellent.
I travel a lot. I am a former youth NGO exec. What else have I done? I used to be a model at one point in time. So I have done a lot of things in the last 10 years when I look at it.
Yeah, that sounds like plenty underneath your belt. And I know that there's much more to come.
Yes.
Right? So let's start in the department of the traveling.
Okay.
Because that has been so exciting to look at from on your page. I saw that you were in Curacao recently.
Yes,
Tell me a little bit about that experience.
So going to Curacao, because that was actually my second time in Curacao, because I was having a conversation with my mom and I asked her what she wanted for her birthday. And she said she wanted a trip. So in my mind, I'm thinking, a trip? All expenses paid for your birthday? Okay. And she started calling some very foreign countries. She wanted France and Paris and all these things.
Wow.
So the budget wasn't stretching that far as yet.
Okay.
Let's say as yet. So then we were like, okay, she was thinking Curacao because she always wanted to see the Queen Emma Bridge. That's like the floating bridge in Curacao that always opens up and they light it up in the night.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, bet. So put some plans in ahead and we went in July because her birthday is in July.
Yeah.
And so I took her and I took my aunt with her because, you know, they like to travel together. They don't just like to travel by themselves.
But company is always better, you know?
Not only that, like, especially if there are things that I wanted to do and she didn't want to do it, she had somebody with her to be like, okay, but
we could go together.
We will go. You know? And they did a lot of that and left me there like, wait, who's the child here and who's the adult? Like, what?
Well, that was your fault. You were supposed to join the crew, you know? It's either you're joining or you're still.
So the funny thing...
Who get leave out.
The funny thing is that I had also booked things that I wanted to do that I knew she wouldn't want to do. So when I came back tired, they were like, yeah, they're going out. They're staying home. So at that point, I was like, okay, I have been humbled.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely amazing. I love Curacao. And I think I would want to go back because I only touched the surface of what the island was about.
Okay.
And especially what I really appreciated was the multilingualism about it, because at one minute you would hear someone speaking Papiamentu, you would hear someone speaking Spanish, Dutch.
Was that easy to navigate though for you? Well, we know that your background is languages.
Well, interestingly, because they do speak a lot of English there, but oftentimes I would just try to switch. So when I switched in Spanish, they'd be like, wait, you're speaking Spanish? How do you know Spanish? And then I explain where I'm from, and I was like, oh, you're nearby, because they are literally on the top of Venezuela. Yeah. So when I relate to say that, oh, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, and they're also close to Venezuela, it's like they can make the connection.
Yeah, they can understand.
However, what was also interesting was that I think some people thought I was local, because I have two instances where someone came up to me and spoke in Papiamentu, and I was like, what? Even when I was going in the airport and I am going back and the security guard stopped me because I didn't have any baggage around me, so I just had gone outside to see something and come back inside the airport. And she stopped me and she started speaking, and I was like, what? And she's like, oh,
you're not from here, clearly.
So I was like, okay.
Didn't you observe anybody with similar features or colors?
Not really. Like, there is the mixture and everything, and there, of course, they have a similar history like us and the rest of the Caribbean. Yeah. But at the same time, it didn't feel like, oh, okay, because I know I stand out, but yet at the same time, I guess they thought I was local. So I appreciated it because that means that I could fit in anywhere.
Exactly.
But loved it. I think a lot of the culture is very similar, a lot of the food, because I think I went somewhere and they had a lot of stews. So you know, like how we would have our
stew as in our traditional brown stew, like
yes, like chicken
really?
stew and whatnot. They had them, and I was like, it was similar. It wasn't too different, and they even had.
But what was unique though? Just in case anybody out there wants to travel.
So they have what is a iguana soup.
A soup.
I don't know if I am ready to try a iguana
But you
soup.
eat iguana here, so iguana is
I
not.
don't even like iguana here.
But you have had. Have
I
you
have
tried it?
I've had it.
Right.
Especially younger, you know how they want you to try different wild
Yes.
meats. I've had it, but I don't know if I want to be doing a iguana soup.
So did you see it presented? Was it that the iguana was just swimming in the
I
soup?
don't know. I did not see it. I did not order it, but like I went somewhere that was showing you a lot of their local dishes, and that was on the menu. So I was like, if I'm mentally prepared, maybe I might try it the next time.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That don't even look like Libri. I think you're telling me tales. But tell me, what was the most exciting thing that you did on that trip? Something that really stood out to you that you probably may have not experienced it here or anywhere else before.
In Curacao. So I spent 5 days there. So there were a lot of things that I had on my agenda, especially the regular, the visiting the markets, the flea markets, visiting the sign, because there's a very popular Curacao sign and everything. And then I decided that I wanted to go underwater to see the fishies, because there was this guided underwater tour that took you underwater 20 feet below to just experience what that underwater environment looks like. And I loved it.
Okay.
I loved it.
20 feet below. Please.
Yes, 20 feet below.
You didn't say 2 feet. You
No,
say
but I didn't
5.
know it was 2 feet. I thought, in my mind, I didn't think of how deep it was until when one of the other ladies who were there on the team, she was like, oh yeah, it's about 20 feet. I was like, excuse?
Oh, too late.
Uh-huh.
Too late was
Yeah,
the
I
cry.
already signed the waiver and everything, so it's
Yeah.
not like if I could do anything to be like, yeah, I ain't going again. So, but they did say that it is safe and that, of course, you don't need to swim in order to do it. So knowing that, I was like, okay, well, let's try this out. So they gave us like this helmet, like think SpongeBob, like that kind of heavy metal.
You mean that? Okay,
Yes, like
that's
what,
cool.
yeah, so you actually put that on your head and that would provide your oxygen. And then you would get so accustomed to equalize and then you would go underneath. And it was kind of weird at first because at one point I was thinking, why is this helmet so heavy? But then the force of the water is trying to get you back up. So the helmet helps to keep you down.
Yeah.
So once we get accustomed to that, we started walking and just, I'm looking around and I'm seeing the sand and I'm like, that's the sand at the bottom of the whatever this area is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And then I'm seeing the coral. And then I saw a school of fishes just swimming around me. And it literally looked like how, you know, in the
The mermaid.
The Little Mermaid,
Yeah.
and when they had all the fishes swimming around like Ariel, I
That
was
probably
like,
was so surreal.
It was, because I was like, this is not happening. I was like so giddy, happy, because I was like, yeah, okay, this was good. This was good. I enjoyed this. And then we were able to feed the fishes underwater.
Oh
so
my
they come
gosh.
around in your face, and I was just grinning the whole time.
And you could tell that they probably were so accustomed to that.
Yeah, most likely that's how they get
Yeah.
their feed at time, but definitely I enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend anybody to do that because it's so out of your normal of what you would want to do in a Caribbean island. So going underwater really was amazing.
Okay, that sounds so fantastic. Is there any plans for the rest of 2024 in terms of what we could follow on your page for the travel department of things?
So there is something in the works, but I don't want to talk about it until it happens.
Okay,
I'm
so-
a very strong believer.
So guys,
in
we have
keep
to
it-
stay locked
Yeah,
on
yes.
Bree's page, you know?
But it's something that I have never done before to a country that I've never been. So it's something that once everything works out, God's willing, then I would be so excited to share, because that would be like a childhood dream come true right there. So just stay tuned.
Okay,
I'm
no
sick.
problem. So here's the thing, right? I know when people travel, they typically see lots of things that they could bring home and make it into something that would be dynamic and that might impact our tourism industry.
Okay, yeah.
What is one thing that you saw that would make sense in the Tobago space or even in the Caribbean, as in within Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, our area down here, that would make sense to us in terms of what we have to work with already?
I think we could start having food tours. Because I did one recently when I was in Barbados, and it was so simple, so like you start off at the market, they show you about, because of course it wasn't for locals, it was for persons who are not accustomed to the Caribbean, because since we do have a connected history and a shared history, I felt that, we have this too, but I could appreciate it given that it allows you to see the culture of the country in a different light.
So was it tour in a localized area,
It
or did you have
was
to
in-
go from
No,
area to area?
it was actually in the heart of Bridgetown in Barbados, and we started up by one point and we walked through the town. We went by a pastry store. They gave us local pastries to try. I think they gave us like a sausage roll.
Okay.
Something very simple,
Similar,
a sausage
yeah.
roll. And then from there, we tried some fruits. They showed us some of the fruits that we normally have on the island. There was one type of mango that I've never seen before in my life.
Okay, what
The-
was it called, if you
think-
remember?
I think it was similar to ice cream mango, but it wasn't ice cream. It was something I
Oh.
haven't seen before.
Okay.
And then they made us eat donks.
Oh, donks that we have rolling down the hill. Okay.
Yes. So I was like, wow, I came Barbados to eat donks.
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
I
you
know, right? And they gave it to us without salt. So I was like, okay, all right.
So you
But
had the
just for the
feeling like it
culture,
was home
just for the
underneath
culture,
the trees,
just for
you
the
know?
culture. But after that, we
Yeah.
actually continued walking. So they took us to the market. We tried some sorrel juice. So I'm not going to say that their sorrel juice was better than ours because, of course,
The Mecca, you know, we had
even though they
things.
might say something on
we
that.
had things.
And
So-
then from there, we tried some traditional dishes. So, of course, they had their cuckoo, they had their macaroni pie, and lots of those things. So it
You know,
really gave me an
us and
authentic...
Barbados always fighting over the flying
Of
fish in the
course,
sea because, you
of
know,
course.
we draw the line out in the sea, but outside of that, we have a lot of commonalities
I
between
agree.
Tobago, especially, and Barbados.
I agree, which
You
is
know?
why... you're right. And it's so funny because every time I'm there and I say I'm from Tobago and they're like, give me the flying fish. And I was like, it's not my fault that
Yeah,
they
but they
decided to come by
migrated.
us.
It's
Exactly.
Not our,
It's
we
not
didn't
our
do
fault.
anything about that.
It's not our fault, but you know, they would be like, no, this is not right and whatnot. And I was like, listen to me, just make it and I'll eat it, but it's not my fault that the flying fish have decided, oh, they want to come to Tobago.
Yeah, I think we always have that little interaction over like a few commonalities. You know how we argue with them about Sweet and Dandy versus Mabel Morby?
I actually like Sweet and Dandy.
Really?
So I can't
actually
have that
find
argument.
Sweet and Dandy so sweet.
Well, that's why I see, but I actually like it. Like I went to
But
the
you know-
supermarket just for Sweet and Dandy to bring back.
Yeah,
I did.
The only thing I could say that I like I ate it from someone that made it. Their macaroni pie, and they generally top it with the lines of ketchup. And for some reason,
I don't get
was
that.
like,
I don't
you
get the
know,
ketchup.
I could get the sweet and savory element. I get it. I understand. It wasn't too bad.
I didn't
But
think
it's
that.
the same way I feel about the Sweet and Dandy. You like it?
I like
And
it.
I just
I
like,
do.
you know?
Because I think what is always the biggest culture shock for me anytime I go to Barbados is the price. Because why is it that I'm seeing products that I know from home 3 times the price? It still gets me in my mind, but I have to remind myself, this is not home. This is a thing, and they have their own economy that they're trying to sustain. So be mindful and watch your pocket.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
So-
I do love their restaurants. There's so many different restaurants you could try. It's like if I am not in Tobago and I want a quick getaway, I would take Barbados.
Yeah, and guess what? We have those flights. We have
We do,
flights available
we
to
do,
go there.
we do,
You
and
know?
I've used them quite a lot too.
Might as well.
Yeah,
Right, but that sounds lovely. So there are things that we can adapt.
Yeah,
certainly. And I like the fact that you said so many things were so familiar to you. It shows that you don't really have to go so far out of the regular scope of operation just to offer service.
Agreed.
Because we can use our local products here in Trinidad and Tobago and craft.
and I think that's
Very
what you have
niche
to do.
experiences.
Exactly, I think that's what you have to do because a lot of the times there are a lot of costs incurred, so you have to try to keep it low in order to see how it can be favorable. Because I even was thinking, can we do underwater tours in Tobago too? Like, where would be the perfect site for this?
I know a
Yeah.
perfect site, space side most definitely. Space side, okay, outside of the
Walking
fact that
or just doing a thing?
no,
Yeah,
to
'cause
go down below
diving,
because
yes, you
I
can do
mean the
diving, yeah.
Angel Reef and
Yeah.
the coral
It's really
gardens
nice,
is
yeah.
so gorgeous. The water is so pristine. But then if we're considering the actual current is a bit
rough.
Yeah, it's a bit rough
I
on
had an
that
experience
side.
up there,
So probably
yeah.
probably somewhere on the north side, probably like a Castara.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I think it's always good that when you travel and you see things, you should think about, okay, what can be adapted if back home? Because of course, it's a good way to help bring up the quality of services in Tobago when it comes to tourism.
Yes, excellent. So guys, are you all aware that Bre is also known as the fragrance girlie? She laughed like she don't know.
I am.
But this is the fragrance girlie, and if you check her pages right now, she's building a collection.
Yeah,
So share with us with how this came about.
So I think everyone has loved and actually explored fragrances over the years. You might buy one here, buy one there over the years. But I think as because of COVID, and you know that you're trying to protect your mental health and you want to do some self-care. So I started with just simply, I was like, okay, I want to get more serious about fragrances. So I remember the first thing I bought was this little travel set from Sephora that had like different scents to try. And the good thing about it was that I could have redeemed one for a big bottle. So I did that. I tried a lot of different ones, and then I got my first bottle, which was My Way by Giorgio Armani. That is still my, like, I love it. It's like this fruity love. And so now every time I travel, I was like, okay, let me see if I could find something that I would want to try and add to the collection. And then from there, because of course fragrances are expensive, but it's more so finding things that really do well and complement your essence and your aura and your personality, and slowly building it. And why I say slowly building, because I can't just buy all at once.
Exactly.
So what I would do, I would try to smell them first before I commit, because I'm not blind buying.
So how do you go about that? Do you go get the can? So
most times I visit perfume stores a lot, especially like the one on Lowlands Mall is actually pretty nice, Maison Deluxe.
Yeah.
It's actually they have a nice collection there.
Okay.
Or if I'm in duty free, I will go there, take my time. I could literally spend hours just going there and just smelling different scents and seeing if I like and what I don't like, write them down. And then I would look online to add reviews. Fragrantica is definitely like a hub for everything fragrance wise. And even with TikTok, you would see that people talk about things. So I would create an Excel sheet. I have an Excel sheet of different fragrances.
That's how you know you're committed. An Excel sheet, guys.
No, it's true. And it helps to remind you, like, okay, do you see that price? Calm down, because I have other goals that I want to accomplish too. So you can't just be buying all there. So it slowly is building and I'm enjoying it, and just being able to talk about it as well, because there is a whole fragrance community, even here in Tobago as well. And oftentimes, like, if I don't like a scent, because there are times when you buy one in the airport and you come back and you're like, I'm not feeling this anymore.
Yeah, because for some reason, sometimes when it sits on your skin, it changes with your
and your body chemistry and everything.
Yeah.
So when that happens, I just give them to my mom or my aunt, and they're very happy anytime they get a new fragrance.
Yeah.
And what I think is so funny, because last time I had a bottle of Scandal from Jean-Paul Gaultier, and I liked it in the airport because I was coming back from Antigua, and then I didn't like it anymore in me, so I gave it to my mom. My mom is wearing that to church.
Darling, you failed successfully. A win
my
is
mom
a
is
win.
wearing that to church, and it smells good on her.
A win is a win.
So I was like, okay, well, now I know. Let's just take our time. But I am enjoying it, and it's just like it's a passion project that I've been seeing to see how to grow it, because I love smelling fragrances, and even like at work, I would normally have one or two on my desk, and some of my coworkers just passed. They'd be like, what's that? Take a little spray and then walk away. So they'd be like, yeah, they always know this smelling good.
So you're rubbing off on people then.
Yes. So it's been fun.
Yeah, that definitely does sound like fun. So I know that there has been some life changes recently. Things at home.
Yeah.
How have you been in that regard?
I think the best thing to say is just taking it one day at a time and one step at a time, because I don't think anyone ever prepares or can be prepared for when they lose a parent.
Yeah.
And more so, like in my case, I lost my parent, my father, my stepfather, and a favorite uncle in a 3 months time period.
Wow.
So at one point, thank you. So at one point, I think I was numb to, like, you're just going through the process. You do the funeral, you go home, you grieve. So I remember when it really hit me that, like, my father had died was my birthday. And the whole time, you know how he always used to call me for my birthday. So that was one time when I didn't get a call from him. And I'm like, why is he not calling me? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then I remembered he can't call me
here
because he's not here. So, yeah. So that, I think, is something just to get accustomed and to understand that, this is part of life, and that you just take your time, and of course time would heal and you would get strong and it wouldn't be as overwhelming as before, because that was definitely something I did not see on my card to 2023 at all, but I'm better now for it.
The thing about death is not something that I feel that you experience once and you could just get over it. I feel like it's a journey of continually just feeling and experiencing the pain of loss.
Yeah.
And despite you having goals, it's present.
Yeah, I know, it's just like there and everything.
Yeah.
But you think about it, of course you're gonna think and you're gonna shut up cry, because like my daddy, because I always just call him daddy from the time I
know that
child,
you were a daddy's girl.
I'm a daddy's girl. I am a daddy's girl, so it has always been daddy, and he would be like, hey, what's up, you good, what do you want? It has always been the conversation. I have never not seen him. Anytime I say daddy, he has not been like, okay, what do you want, how can I help you, how can I support you? And he has been such a supporting figure in my life, so it's weird not having that around.
I remember in our pre-interview conversations you told me about your entrepreneurship journey, and he was so much of a giant in your life in terms of that. So I can't even imagine.
It's I think you give yourself grace and you accept that they're in a better place and he's no longer in pain. And that you look back and you cherish the memories. And there are sometimes something would just pop in my mind, I'll bust out one laughing because I'm like, yeah, that would have been funny if he knew about that. And plus I still have some of his pictures, and I still have his WhatsApp chat open so that I can still see some of his messages and voice notes. So I still have something around. I even keep a picture of him in my bag. So anytime I'm thinking, I would just pull it out and see it.
Yeah, but
anybody has napkin, by the way, because I think I'm still like shit.
Yeah, I don't think do we have.
That's okay.
We'll just take a little pause. A wipe is dangerous.
Yeah, a wipe is very no way makeup. Yeah, but it should be fine. It'll be dangerous now.
Guys, sometimes it gets so real and raw on the podcast. The thing about it is, we are not just independent people as we go through life. So many things happen along the way, and you still have to maneuver family life. You still have to process what your experience is, and we don't tend to talk about the true impact of how these things really do affect us.
That's true, because, and funny enough, I think anytime someone dies, as much as you might have done so many different things, it's always, how does your family remember you?
Yeah.
Especially knowing that in that period of time, just for that service, all you get as the deceased person is 2 pages.
Yeah, and that cannot
to write, and that cannot encapsulate what type of person they were. So it's just interesting to see how after, when they finish grieving, you as a family continue, because you're like, okay, you now have to continue your life without them.
Yeah. But tell me, how have you been managing your self-care? Because we have spoken about the whole set of things, the whole itinerary of things that you have done, but to balance your professional life,
thank you,
as well as settle. Right. So let me start again.
I'm good.
I'm waiting for you to finish, Pat.
Yeah, trying to make sure.
Some of this out, right?
Okay, fine.
Not the whole thing, but some of it.
That's fine. And if anybody knows, like, is fresh for anybody to just lose someone, and you're like, wow. And especially a parent. So, okay, good.
Right, we good to go?
Yeah, good.
Okay, so how have you been managing your self-care? Because I know it's good to present as being okay, but how have you been able to work your way through this process while still creating some measure of equilibrium and balance? How have you been going about doing that? I think
what is good to know for yourself is your limits. So that if it is that you know that you are not okay, you take a break. And I am a strong believer in, I'm going to take that break and catch myself up and see how I can readapt to that. And having a very strong circle to help support you and to talk things through, that has definitely been very much like meaningful to me, and just taking my time with things so that I don't feel like if I am overwhelmed and rushing into anything, because you need to take that time. Because I didn't think that I would be grieving, but I was like, you know what? I am grieving, because grief comes in so many different forms. And it's until you go through all these stages, you realize, okay, yeah, this is something to just take your time and to accept. So in the meantime, I would listen to music a lot. I would take long drives. I would go to the beach. I might stroll on social media, just seeing things and understanding and trying to read and listen, and just taking my time with it, and even talk with good friends and family. And be more closely connected with my family also helps as well, because you want to try to be like, you know what, it's okay, and this has been an experience that not only you went through, but a lot of them went through as well.
So your community has been showing up for you in a very impactful way. How has that truly made you feel, especially knowing that you may not have needed that support then, but you got it? How was that?
I think I feel humbled by it.
Yeah.
Because even I remember the day of the funeral, like a lot of my coworkers came out and they just stayed in the back, and and the calls and the messages, I think it's really good. And even the checkups now, and it's like, you're good, everything okay. Just continue to have that conversation. I think is really really rewarding.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you see, guys, it's so important to have community. Yeah. We really and truly do not stand on our own legs all the time.
We don't, and you can't, because it is hard to stand on your own. There are going to be people who are going to give you a need to pour into you when you can't. So that is always very important as well.
So how you plan to honor Daddy? Because I know Daddy was an entrepreneur.
Daddy was an entrepreneur.
Daddy was a giant.
Daddy was a giant.
How do you think that you would be able to carry on his legacy, or you feel that you could live your life in a way that will continue to make him proud?
Funny enough, we had a connection with traveling, and I think like he more or less exposed me to it. So before he passed, because he always was in something. So at one point he ended up being like one of those taxi drivers at the airport. So he became that person you would see anytime you're entering into Tobago, and he's right outside, and they'd be like, hi, good evening, you need a taxi, you need any service? So it was weird at first not seeing him there anymore anytime I enter into the gate. But I think just being around the airport and in travel sphere is something that I really enjoy, and it reminds me of him. And even more like getting into like, okay, how can I contribute more in entrepreneurship is something that I'm trying to work on, because I know that he would definitely like want to push ideas and be like, okay, go after it and do it. So even just developing my entrepreneurial mindset is something how I want to really honor him, because he was very hardworking and he was definitely a go-getter.
Definitely. So I see you have big plans. So looking ahead in terms of content creation and the aspirations going forward, give us some insight into what we can expect from you.
So it's interesting for me how I ended up just getting involved in content creation in the first place, because when I started it's because I knew there were a lot of girls. It's because of I teach as well. I knew a lot of girls were online and they were looking at these celebrities and these influencers, and I know your self-esteem at a young age would have been impacted because they don't look like you. So it became a point of me just starting to post pictures, and I know it would just pop up on their feeds. And it's always the little girls. Sometimes it was the boys as well.
Yeah.
But the girls would come and they'd be like, Miss, I saw your picture, I saw your video, you look so nice.
And
so
it's such an inspiration for them.
It became a conversation for them to be able to come out of their shells and be like, Miss, I like your outfit, or I like this, because they pay attention to everything.
I know that for sure.
So we're able to have that conversation and to be like, okay, this is something they could style, and just to uplift them and to have a positive image that they see online. And so I'm very mindful of that knowing that I do have a younger audience, even though I don't want it sometimes. But
you can't choose.
You can't. It's good because
the audience chooses you.
I guess, and more so, and especially if I'm so active, because I am active on social media. I'm always posting. I know it's always end up with a conversation started with like, Miss, I saw your video, and sometimes I'd be like, what video? What are you talking about? And it's like, Miss, but I was like, you sure? Because I was like, I don't want that to be the conversation while we're in class. If we're in break time or lunchtime and you want to be like, have a conversation with me, okay, but not then. But I also take it as an opportunity to talk to them about the dangers of social media and what you should post and not post. So it's also like a learning education
in real time. Yeah.
Because that is something I remember having to have a conversation with my form class when they were in first form, saying, whatever you post on the internet, is permanent. So make sure whatever you post is always showing you in a good front.
In a positive light.
Because if something happens to you or some kind of bacchanal happens, it's going to pop up and people are going to share it, and that you don't want that. That is the image that they remember and see you for. So it's something that they are listening to, and to know that, okay, social media can be used for good and for bad, but we lean on the good. And I also prompt them into being like, hey, start a business.
Yes.
Like if there is a skill, if there's something that you can do, start it and put it on social media and get at it. And I've seen them doing that, and they'll come to me like, Miss, I started this, and I'll be like, really?
Yeah.
So it's always a good conversation about them to have.
It's so important what young people see, because they tend to pattern what they're experiencing.
Yes. And and I remind them all the time, it's like, for example, like if you do makeup, you have a whole network of people that you can start being able to get your funds from.
You know what's beautiful about starting business in school? You know, at a younger age, you have such a wide group of friends. When you get older, those friends start to narrow down significantly.
Exactly.
So since you have all of those people that you're good with, you have a pool of people who can support you as you're now stepping forward. So as we're about to close, we're going to get to know Ms Bre Romeo a little better, and we're going to end the podcast with a little game called Two Truths and a Lie.
2 truths and a lie.
So I am challenging you, Bre, to tell us 2 truths and a lie, and I'm going to guess and see which one is the lie.
Okay, 2 truths and a lie. All right, so I attended Barack Obama's first inauguration in Washington, D.C. I have 5 dogs, and I have never... What have I never done? I guess that would be the lie, but no.
No, but you need to go and get the credit, just tell the tone.
No, I'll get it. But definitely, the first 2 can stay. But the last one I would say is that... I don't know.
Pressure.
I know. It's the pressure.
Is
I can't lie.
Put the brain cells at work. Put them at work.
I know. It's to think of something like, what would be a 2 truths and a lie that I can add on to that? I love singing.
Yeah, I can't make that lie so obvious, but
You sure about that?
well, you know what? Considering I heard the music blasting in the car, I'll take the last one as the truth. I don't know how well you sing, but you might be able to hold a tune, right? The Barack Obama one, I think that's the lie. This is my final answer. I rest my case. However, it hang its swing.
Okay, fair enough. The last one was a lie. I cannot sing to hold.
Oh my God!
I can't.
God.
You would never hear me singing. I cannot hold a key.
Oh,
I can't.
Girl, the Spirit gave us the blessing to speak.
I will listen to music
and not to sing.
I will listen to music. I will hear it, but I can't.
Oh my gosh. I don't, guys, so far I ain't getting none right, I'm counting. Every time I need to sharpen up. I need to go home and think real hard about my guess.
No, but that was the Barack Obama experience was a long time ago, and it's so funny how seeing the energy that is surrounding Kamala for her run, and it's like, wow, this is feeling like that 16 years ago again.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how that is navigating for the US, because of course there will be implications for the Caribbean and the wider world because of what happens.
Once we're looking at any hegemony, that it comes with the territory.
Agreed.
So, guys, that's it from us here at the Tenaciously Resolute. And with that, we thank the wonderful Bre Romeo for stopping by.
Thank you.
Remember to stay tenaciously resolute in all that you do.
I like that.
Bye-bye from us here.